In today's film study, we're going to take a look at Malignant, written by Akila Cooper and directed by James Wan. So Malignant has two meanings by definition. One being malevolent, which Gabriel, the antagonist, is the evil force throughout the film. The second, meaning infectious, of course associated with disease, which in a way is kind of what Gabriel was to Madison, our protagonist. But now let's try and break down the plot. 27 long years after the brutal Simeon Research Hospital incident, abused Madison wakes up in a hospital in present-day Seattle. But with numbing visions of murder getting in the way of normal life, more and more, Madison's obscure past emerges, baffling both herself and the local detectives. Are these explicitly violent killings figments of Madison's troubled imagination? Nope! It's revealed to us that Madison is adopted, her real name is Emily, and she was born with a conjoined twin brother on the back of her head, who also just so happens to be this mutated, shriveled up demon spawn. Yeah, the story is wild, and it's not for everyone. Honestly, in the hands of a lesser filmmaker, this could have been an absolute train wreck. But I loved it. So yeah, this movie is totally out there. I mean, when you see this thing, when you see Gabriel in his grotesque form revealed and running around causing carnage like a damn supervillain, I mean, hey, I laughed because, I mean, how else do you take in something so far out there as a concept? But it's entertaining. It's like being on a really fun horror roller coaster ride. And it's completely original, and we need more of that in film, especially in the horror genre, because I'd rather get one Malignant over 20 more terrible attempts at rebooting the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
There's also a lot of technical praise that the film deserves. James Wan's camera work is one of my favorite in the business. So many times throughout the film we get these unique shots like a bird's eye view chase scene, and even in that he'll sprinkle in some silky smooth push-in shots, and he just makes it all look so seamless, and the transitions from shot to shot makes it look that they're all shot in one take. So it's incredibly impressive. The cinematography here is wonderful. I love the colors in a lot of the shots, and especially the way that James Wan uses different colors throughout the film, especially like with red symbolizing, evil and the murder, when of course Madison's being put into those situations where she's being a witness to Gabriel's murders. And another technical thing I enjoyed, speaking of Gabriel, was his voice and how he could manipulate technology to his liking and could communicate through radio waves and phone lines. The voice just had a really cool audio mixing to it. And I love how creative the special effects artists got to be for all the kill scenes of the doctors, and how they could completely transform the environment around Madison when she was being forced to be an active spectator by Gabriel during his initial murders. And even for how silly it looks in some of the larger set pieces, like in the third act, I thought the visual effects on Gabriel's movements looked really good for what they were going for. It's supposed to look unnatural. It's supposed to be jarring, and I thought they accomplished that. I mean, you certainly can't say James Wan didn't swing for the fences here. And with Gabriel being such a powerful force and leaving behind an enormous body count at the police station, does that scene not remind you of The Invisible Man? Both antagonists are pretty much treated like supervillains, only just in the horror setting. And setting aside all the wackiness of half-mutant demon monster conjoined twin brother coming out of his sister's head to become his own being, there's actually some wonderful themes inside of Malignant, like family and the ones you're born with versus the ones you choose, and what it means to be a powerful woman. I mean, because this is how you write a kick-ass woman. This is how you write a kick-ass protagonist. By the end of the film, Madison breaks free of being a victim of physical abuse from her ex-boyfriend, the mental abuse from Gabriel. She realizes that Emily, her true self, isn't her weakness. It's a part of her, the real her, and it's the loss of her children and her sister's love that help her find the suppressed inner strength that was always there, and she finally takes back control of her life at the end. The final showdown where she defeats Gabriel, I think, is a very empowering moment, and it's earned. And while we're on the topic of themes and tone that James Wan appears to be paying homage to, let's dive deeper into something I had in mind on my first viewing. Going back to The Invisible Man, much like Cecilia in that movie, Madison here has to eventually, overcome, and she does overcome some pretty messed up trauma and abuse like we just discussed. And lastly, I don't know for certain, but I get the feeling that the cult classic horror film The Ring served as big inspiration for the creation of Gabriel, because not only is the character design and movement very similar to the evil version of Samara crawling out of the TV, but even the unraveling of the campfire style mystery feels similar to The Ring, with the old, VHS tapes being found of a little girl getting interviewed, setting up the clues for our heroes to later discover. It's just a very familiar feeling you get as a horror fan, only with that James Wan flavor inserted in to give us a fun villain and horror story to follow.
What do you want from me?
To show you what the cancer has become.
But to round up my thoughts, I'll leave you with this. I don't think this is a parody of the horror genre like so many cynical critics have said. I just see the parallels to other films as horror poetry. It rhymes. And if it works for you horror fans and you enjoy it like I do, then don't worry about what anyone else thinks. But for more video essays like this one, check out my film study playlist and consider subscribing to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest in the world of film and TV. This has been Millennium Movies, and I will see you all very soon.